Fáilte chuig Rang Gaeilge, your go-to Irish grammar website.
Today we'll take a look at na Aimsir, but more specifically at the Aimsir Chaite, the past tense. But first, over to Kevin for a few important grammar concepts.
Before we dive into the tenses, there are two very important grammar concepts that need to be crystal clear in your mind. So here's a little refresher for you. First up is the Cunsan Lahan, Cunsan Quail rule. In Irish, a word either has a broad consonant, Cunsan Lahan, or a slender consonant, Cunsan Quail. It's very easy to tell which is which because a Cunsan Lahan will have either an A, O, or U as its last vowel, and a Cunsan Quail will have either an I or an E as its last vowel. This is a term that comes up all the time in Irish, so make sure you take a note of it and remember it. Now that you know what the Latin and Quail vowels are, we can teach you the golden rule of Irish spelling. I'm sure you've all heard of Latin the Latin, Quail the Quail, but what does this actually mean? Simply put, the vowel after a consonant must be the same type of vowel, i.e. Latin or Quail, as the last vowel before that consonant. For example, if we look at the word adiocht, there is a slender vowel before the D, therefore there is also a slender vowel after the D. In this case, both slender vowels happen to be I. This rule applies to 99% of Irish words, so learn it well. Now back over to Louise to get you started on the past tense.
Okay, back to the Aimsir Chaite. First, we must do an ahru tusig by changing the front of the verb. Verbs that start with a consonant take a shevu. Verbs that start with a gutta take a D apostrophe before the vowel. And verbs that start with an F change to D apostrophe FH. This always happens with regular verbs, regardless of the number of syllables. Now that we've changed the start, let's take a look at the rest of the verb. Luckily for us, the Aimsir Chaite is a nice easy tense. All we have to do is put the correct foramen parsanta after the verb without having to change the ending of the verb. The only exception to this is shin or muid, which has its own special endings. For one syllable Latin verbs, the ending is A-M-A-or. Mar hampla, glonamar, we clean. For one syllable Quail verbs, the ending is E-A-M-A-or. Mar hampla, brishamer, we break. For two syllable Latin verbs, the ending is A-I-Fatha-O-M-A-or. Chianiamer, we buy. And for two syllable Quail verbs, the ending is I-Fatha-O-M-A-or. Like Bolliamer, we collect. What about asking questions in the Aimsir Chaite? Well, it's actually pretty simple. To ask a question, you use air before the verb and put a shevu on a cunsan. To answer a question positively, you use the standard ahru tusig. And to answer negatively, you put near before the verb and a shevu on a cunsan. And that's it for the past tense.
If you haven't already, do check out www.wronggaeilge.com for a downloadable 10-point summary, activity questions and answers on this topic, and much, much more.